For most of human history, the world didn't look west for wealth, it looked east, and at the center of it all was China. For over 2,000 years, China wasn't just a big country, it was the country. Its inventions changed the world. Its economy dwarfed Europe's. Its goods were so valuable that nations fought wars and crossed oceans just to get a taste of them. Tea, porcelain, silk, and many other luxurious goods that Europeans craved could only be found in China. It was truly the envy of the world. And today, after 2 centuries of humiliation, poverty, and rebuilding, China isn't just rising, it's returning to the superpower status it enjoyed for millennia, and returning with a vengeance. Meanwhile, India, another ancient civilization with a proud trading history, is failing to keep pace. 2 nations with similar populations and legacies, yet one has become a global giant, while the other is choking on smog and corruption. But this video will mainly focus on China and its return to superpower status, no matter how loud the angry Indian netizens want to shout. Let's rewind about 500 years. In the year 1500, China made up nearly 25% of the global economy. Silk, porcelain, and tea flowed out of Chinese ports in endless caravans and fleets. The Silk Road wasn't just a route, it was the world's economic artery. Roman emperors draped themselves in Chinese silk. Arab traders crossed deserts for Chinese paper and gunpowder. Even the Mongols, fierce warriors who conquered half the known world, couldn't resist using Chinese engineers to build their empire. When the Mongol Empire collapsed and the Silk Road faltered, the Ottomans monopolized it, and Europe became desperate. That desperation drove explorers like Christopher Columbus and Vasco da Gama to find new ways to China. Ironically, Europe's so-called Age of Discovery and its colonial empires were born out of their longing for Chinese goods. And then there was Admiral Zheng He. In the early 1400s, he commanded the largest naval fleet the world had ever seen, giant treasure ships over 400 feet long. His expeditions reached Africa, the Middle East, and India, projecting Chinese power far beyond its borders. When his fleet docked in Calicut, India, the local rulers were stunned by the scale of Chinese wealth and technology. But while China sent fleets to showcase its grandeur, India was fragmented, weak, and already vulnerable to foreign influence. Imagine if India had Wi-Fi at the time. They wouldn't use it to better themselves, they'd just use it to spew propaganda about how the Chinese fleet is made of junk, and how the Indian fleet is actually much better. Fast forward to the 21st century. Today's China is once again shaping the global economy. With a GDP of nearly $19 trillion, it accounts for 18% of global GDP and is on track to overtake the United States. It's the factory of the world, producing 30% of global manufacturing output. It's the beating heart, veins, and arteries of the modern logistical supply chain world. It dominates entire industries: renewable energy, electric vehicles, AI, robotics, drones, semiconductors, and many other industries. Just look at the numbers. Solar panels? China controls 80% of global production. Electric vehicles? BYD and other Chinese firms now rival Tesla globally. Drones? DJI alone owns 70% of the global market. High-speed rail? China has built 42,000 kilometers of tracks, which is more than the entire world combined. Meanwhile, India is still debating where to lay its first bullet train, which is being gifted by Japan. In fact, here is a staggering statistic. China accounts for 2/3 of the entire world's high-speed rail network. Mind-boggling. India, on the other hand, despite having a similar population, 1.4 billion people, its GDP is barely $4 trillion, less than a quarter of China's, actually closer to 1/5. Let's be blunt, India's infrastructure is crumbling. Its cities are suffocating under toxic air. It still struggles to provide clean drinking water and electricity to millions. While China built entire megacities like Shenzhen in just 30 years, India's capital Delhi is infamous for having some of the worst air quality in the world. While China built the world's largest high-speed rail network, India's trains derail so often they've become a global meme. It would be funny if it wasn't so sad and tragic, since normal everyday people who are not linked to the government are hurt in these events. And don't even get started on poverty. China has lifted 800 million people out of poverty in just 4 decades. India still has 200 million people living on less than $3 a day, and over 1 billion people living on less than $6 a day. That's not progress, that's stagnation. In technology, China is forging ahead with quantum computing, 5G networks, and space exploration. It even has its own space station, Tiangong, circling the Earth. India's space agency, ISRO, gets praise for cheap Mars missions, but those are PR stunts compared to China's ability to land rovers on the far side of the moon. Militarily, China is a juggernaut. It's building stealth fighters, hypersonic missiles, aircraft carriers, and even AI-powered weapon systems. India? It still imports second-hand fighter jets from France and Russia, and struggles to produce basic rifles for its troops. The recent performance of Operation Sindoor speaks volumes about the Indian military. And heck, if we want a direct comparison, just go back to the Aksai-Chin War of 1962, where the Chinese army crushed the Indian army, forced them to retreat, stormed the area, and secured the land all in 1 month. The contrast is painful because both countries were once global trade hubs. India was famous for its spices, textiles, and gems, but it was always divided, petty kingdoms fighting endless wars, the so-called princely states. That division made it easy prey for British colonizers. Even today, India's divisions are holding it back. Religious riots, caste violence, and toxic politics dominate headlines. China, too, suffered during the colonial era. The Opium Wars, the burning of the Summer Palace, the century of humiliation. But here's the difference. China learned. It rose from the ashes, modernized its industries, and disciplined its population to work toward a common goal. India replaced British rule with corruption, nepotism, and chaos. And in global influence, the gap is massive. China's Belt and Road Initiative is rebuilding global trade networks, connecting over 60 countries. India, it can barely build roads in its own northeast without running into protests and delays. Even in culture, China is exporting films, apps, and technology. India's cultural export is Bollywood. Fun, but not exactly a foundation for superpower status. And let's be real, most Bollywood consumers are themselves Indians or of Indian origin, so there's hardly any export happening. Here's the cold, hard truth. China's rise isn't an accident. It's the result of vision, planning, and hard work. India's stagnation isn't an accident either. It's the product of decades of poor leadership and a refusal to confront deep-rooted social problems. While China is preparing to shape the 21st century, India is still stuck in the 20th or even the 19th, bickering over religion, caste, and outdated notions of being a great democracy, as if that's enough to feed its people. The dragon has returned to its throne. The cow, meanwhile, is still stumbling in the dusty road filled with potholes. So yeah, China isn't just rising, it's reclaiming its place at the center of the world. If you enjoyed this video, then please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.